Hello, good morning, afternoon, or evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Mr. Zelwyn here with a video, as promised, to give you an idea of how to use Microsoft's equation editor when you're in, Word, maybe PowerPoint. That's actually how I make my notes in OneNote. And what I have already created for you on the screen here is just kind of like a math sentence. Might be similar to a word problem that you might see, or even the directions on a test or something like that. And the problem is, if you purely just try to type this out, I'll actually switch the font color to blue. Everything looks normal as long as we're using regular old words. But when you get to the math section of it formats it poorly. Look, there's no spacing. And worst of all, if I try to make that fraction 3/2 minus x equals 51, this is just kind of a mess. It doesn't look as nice. It's a little bit sloppy. The spacing isn't exactly right. So instead of doing that, what you'll have to identify is where you want your equations to exist, or where you want your math formatting to happen. And, solve the equation, and then we have the equation, and then the regular word for. So you can even type that if you want to, you don't have to. But basically, wherever you want that equation to be, you put your cursor, and then you go to the Insert menu, and depending on whether you're using I'm pretty sure it exists in the online version, but I'm not entirely sure. You may have to use the actual program. Might be different in PowerPoint, something like that. But find a button. Mine's over here. That's his equation. If you hit this little drop down, they have some pre-built ones, but they've never really been helpful to me. So I just hit the regular old equation button. And you'll see that you get, wherever your cursor was, this little text edit box. So type equation here. So you do exactly what you were going to do before, hit the 5 key, hit the X key, and the plus, all of a sudden it starts formatting it and spacing it out automatically for you. There's not really a lot to do. Watch what happens when we hit that fraction. So we hit parentheses, and then 3/2, I put 3/2, and when I hit the space bar, it makes it into a fraction. Now, you'll notice that the parentheses is not looking exactly right. Well, let me finish out the minus x, which is now formatted. When I close the parentheses and again hit that space bar, it's going to format it so that it's the appropriate size. Finally equals 51, and we'll call it a day. Notice that my cursor is still inside the box. If I hit left, now I leave it and I'm back to typing regular. So if I wanted to type in that 4 now, I know it was already there, but if I type it out, it's back to regular old text. Now, this regular text, you can format however you want. You could change the fonts to anything that you're comfortable with. But when you get to the equations, make sure that you are using the equation editor. Let me just bring up one more. That X was made. It's not a standard X. It's the math version. I'll leave the text box, and I'll put the period there. One thing I did in the black text in the original problem is I put some spaces to distinguish the words, I guess, from the equation. So feel free to buffer some of those things if you want. That's going to make it nicer. All right. So once we do that, I'd also like to show you how we're going to solve one of these. So if we go through the work of solving 5x plus 2, blah blah blah. We're going to want to type it up. Now, ideally, you will have this thing done on paper, and you'll just have to type. But for us, let's go ahead and solve it, and I'll kind of guide you through that process. I'm going to hit Tab or maybe Spacebar to move the cursor to where I need it to be, and I can hit Insert Equation, and I'll distribute that too. So the 5x stays the same, plus when I multiply 2 times 3 halves, they will cancel. The 2's will cancel, and I'll get 3. And when I multiply 2 times negative x, I get negative 2. Equals 51. I personally like to line up my equal signs. And I'll go to the next line and tab over a little bit again. Now I want to combine my like terms. One shortcut, since you're going to be making a lot of these equations, is if you hold the Alt button and then hit equals. you get your equation box to pop up right away, right where you are. So one more time, you hold the Alt key and then press equals. All right, so let's combine the +3 and the -2. I'm sorry, that's not -2, that's -2x. Let's combine the 5x and the -2x. 3x plus 3 is equal to 51. And like I said, I like to line up my equal signs. Although my equal signs got thrown off when I forgot the x. Keep going, we're going to subtract 3 on both sides. Pretty. Lastly, we'll divide by 3. We're going to get x is equal to 16. Now, if you want to do something fancy, you could, of course, like put your answer in a different color. You could actually, if you really want to impress me, you could do all the work that you did show up in a different color. So in this step, we distributed. And then in the next step, we combined our like terms. And in the next step, we divided by, we subtracted 3. And then finally divided by 3. Showing something like that might be a good way, or even better if you have, like you would right underneath what you did, show that you're combining the 5x and -2x. Write -3 like you would if you were showing your work. Those are things that could really make your project go from, you know, a good project to a great project. So feel free to test those things out. Otherwise, you know, the formatting is going to work a lot like you would any other document. I mean, your margins are still going to work the same way. You're just entering this special formatted box that makes things look nice in math. If we quickly go into, well, let's just go into a new one. I'll show you some other features that you might see in the future. Just looking through the equation ribbon. A lot of it is not going to be super useful to you, but you do have a lot of symbols. There's a plus or minus symbol, the infinity symbol. Obviously equals, there's a key on the keyboard, but there's a not equal symbol. That's a good one. This is how you get the actual divided by symbol. Approximately equal to is a good one. And if you press this drop down, you get even more. You might notice some of these, like there's theta from geometry. Very boring. You can also use this to come up with other things. So, for example, if you want the all real numbers symbol, you go to scripts, and then right there is the one that you could use for all real numbers. You can hunt around if there's something that you're really looking for, but those are all the special symbols. I like to use the fraction. You could bring up the standard one, the same one that we got when we did 3/2, but you could pull one up. There's also the sideways one. I probably would just use this one. This one, that's the whole point of using the equation editor. You could use scripts if you wanted to use an exponent. So this might create something like x squared. And I should also tell you that if you use the caret, so x and then caret and then whatever number you want when you hit space, it's going to make it into a power. You got your square roots and your cube roots and all that fun stuff underneath the radical tab. There's some calculus stuff. If you really want a fancy bracket, there's the square brackets and the curly brackets. Accent marks. We're going to use too many of these, but there's some like segment lines, all that, line, array, or geometry, as well as some other things that you can probably figure out on your own. But the video is plenty long at this point, so I just wanted to make sure that you had, you know, a secondary resource outside of what we're going to do in class to be able to create really nice looking presentations or really nice looking submissions. If you have questions, feel free to send me a message on Schoology, and I will see you soon.